Hey, Raising Vibrations community, welcome to today's video. So we're going to be looking at the new moon in Scorpio, and this is for the 4th of November 2021. So I hope you guys are well and that this video finds you at a place of empowerment. So as you can see, the background has changed. I'm actually in a new location, a new home. I haven't had the opportunity to set everything up yet and kind of really sit and ground this energy. We've just moved into a new home. So this is our video for you to kind of just process and digest this new moon. There's a lot of changes that are going to be coming with this new moon. We've just passed a cycle with the sun in Libra. So there's been a lot of changes already initiated, but now we're entering the phase in which we're going to be making choices relative to these changes and really committing and really letting go. So the new moon message that both Jen and I want to share with you today has to do with a closing cycle and really processing the reflection of what the last couple of 6 months have been like for you. You know, what have you been processing since May and June? What have you been working on consciously with these retrograde planets that have been with us throughout the summer here in the northern hemisphere and the winter in the southern hemisphere? What have you been processing over the last 5 to 6 months that has reached ahead with the previous full moon in Aries and new moon in Libra? What has changed for you? What have you initiated? So this new moon in Scorpio is an opportunity to really sit back and reflect on the changes that have taken place, what you've been processing, and really see what needs to go, what needs to be cut out, what needs to be let go, and what you can commit to, what you're going to merge with, right? Scorpio is the archetype of merging. So when we have planets moving through Scorpio, what we're going to look at is where our energetic boundaries exist, where we give space to things to exist in our lives and what we are merged with, and what we are saying, this is not what we're going to tolerate anymore. This is not what we want to be attached to. This is not where we want to emotionally invest in. Okay, so this is the theme that's going to come up with this new moon, and of course the full moon as well. And this entire cycle, this new and full moon cycle, is going to be a precursor to the nodes switching into Scorpio and Taurus, right? And we'll do some content coming up around the node switches as well, because I'm sure a lot of you are really dying to understand what's going to take place with it, and it makes sense. So the message today is, what are you clearing out? What is no longer part of your life moving forward? What are you going to commit to? What is transforming within inside of you? And how you're going to be, and how you go about actually emotionally processing that, is recognizing within yourself what has value, what do you feel is going to be resourceful to you, and the things that are letting go, you let go with reflection. You let go with that had meaning for you up until this point, right? You allow yourself to see the dimension of the experience in a way that was nourishing you at one point but is no longer anymore. So really processing deeply the feelings as we let go of things and we venture into new avenues, and we also emerge with new things and experience the excitement of those new scenarios and situations that are going to come into your life. Okay, now we're going to jump into the astrology. We're going to do some chart work as well, but I think something else that I also want to bring across here with this new moon cycle is the fact that Scorpio itself is an archetypal expression that really pushes us to the limits. Okay, it pushes us to limits. It tells you, what are you prepared to really deal with? What is it that you're holding on to? So in addition to what I shared with you right now, I think something that could be deeply supportive and deeply nourishing during this phase, this full moon and new moon energy that will be taking place, right, is to really sit with the why in your life. Like, really allow yourself to dig deeper into the experiences. Lead with curiosity, or like Dr. Gabor Matea talks about, compassionate inquiry. Sort of leading into the experiences that you've had in your life that have been deeply disempowering to yourself, experiences that you have felt deeply betrayed by, where you felt betrayed, where you carry trust, where you're learning how to trust, or that your trust has been broken. Just sit with those experiences and allow yourself to really feel into them in a deep way. And the way that you would do that is you would just take space, some time, and when, of course, you're feeling naturally and organically in that space as well, just sit with those emotions. You don't need to figure it out intellectually, but just allow that Scorpio energy to gaze deeper into the underlying sort of emotional patterns that exist. And you will probably find in most cases when we explore these deeper emotional layers of ourselves, vulnerability shows up, and one of the great ways to be able to understand where your boundaries exist and how you can establish strong boundaries within yourself is to see where your vulnerabilities are and to understand what the threshold is that you're prepared to have or allow in your life. So what I mean by that is where we feel vulnerable, we naturally put protection in place, right? And so you want to see where that protection is supporting you and where that protection is preventing you from further growth within yourself, okay? And those are emotional boundaries, and we want to see where we can push them, where we can say, you know what, I'm going to try to be a little bit more resilient here, and I'm going to open up here. And even though it is scary, and sometimes we're sort of not wanting to push those boundaries because we feel safe in our familiar emotional landscape, in ourselves, we feel safe to not want to push those boundaries, but sometimes it's good to actually push them to see what you can actually tolerate and where you can grow and what you can allow yourself to feel more empowered by, right? Because once you cross that threshold, you can begin to believe in yourself in a different way. And believing in yourself in a different way opens yourself up to new experiences, new challenges, new risks in your life that you may have not maybe wanted to take because of fear of X, Y, Z, okay? So that's something that I think during this this next month could be a great way to explore where those limitations are that you have within yourself, either by purposely putting them there or where they may lay due to earlier life experiences where your nervous system didn't feel safe and you closed down in those places. All right, cool. So enough of me babbling on over there. Let's jump into the charts and we'll see what the astrology says with regards to this new moon in Scorpio. All right, so here we have new moon in Scorpio. This is for the 4th of November. As I said, this is already past, but we can still get some information from this new moon. So first things first, let's have a look at the actual new moon itself. We're sitting here in Scorpio. It's at 12 degrees. There, the sun and moon make a conjunction, as you can see. And what's deeply significant in this process also is the fact that it makes a direct opposition with Uranus, okay? So yeah, you have this line all the way between Uranus and the moon and the sun, that opposition that's taking place. And that's very significant. I feel that that is a huge part of what this energy is all about. And it speaks volumes to what will be emerging within our world, right? What is emerging within our awareness and what is driving us to feel the way that we feel in the things that we have in our lives, right? What we want to change, what we want to transform, what we want to remove or commit to, those being two key words. And if you notice, the sun and moon are also squaring Saturn. Okay, so there's the square aspect that's sitting over there. You can't really see it with all the lines. We'll just go over to our little feature over here. So here's Uranus, and there's the opposition that's taking place. You can see the opposition. And then if you look at Saturn, which is just above it, Saturn is squaring Uranus. Okay, there's the square. So for those of you that don't know what a square is, there's the square marker. If you look in the top right-hand corner, I'm highlighting it there. That's what a square is. It's a 90-degree angle. So these planets are 90 degrees. Well, so Uranus is a 90-degree aspect to Saturn, and Saturn is in a 90-degree aspect to the sun and moon. And then, of course, these are in opposition to each other. This is called a T-square, okay? All right. So now we've got Saturn sitting here at 7 degrees of Aquarius. You have the sun and moon in a Scorpio and in Taurus. And the first piece of information that I want to provide to you is that whenever you see aspects in these signs, planets in these signs like we have here, okay, and they're forming a square, the square aspect, you are looking at the fundamental building block between where we merge with something. So the merging part is the Scorpio part. What we merge with is through a sense of value, right? That's the Taurus part. If we merge with something, we see value in it. We see a resource in it. And the the Aquarius part of it shows us the relationship that we have to the object that we are merging with. Okay, so Aquarius, if you've read in other astrology books, you'll see it as a sign of detachment or objectivity, right? And so Aquarius reflects the dynamic tension between what it is that we're merging with and the value that we see in it. And it also reveals the actual object itself, right? It can be a person, it can be, it can be a person, it can be an actual object itself. The Leo part, which is not activated, but these are all fixed signs. Okay, fixed signs are this: Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. The Leo quality actually shows us where we find like a sense of, in one case, destiny, and in another case where we see the heart in it, right? The love in it. So when we sort of get into a relationship that we feel opens us up to deeper layers of love or experience or intimacy, we are usually seeing it through the lens of, wow, I love this, or this is the experience that's bringing me joy, or this relationship is opening up my heart, and we merge, right? So when you see these archetypes here activated in the astrology, you can pretty much know that we're going to be seeing and feeling our attachments to objects and things. This is the Scorpio-Taurus axis. And the Aquarius component is going to reveal to us what it is that we are attached to, okay? Now, if I take this layering and I now put in the planets and I bring the context of sort of the collective, what we are seeing here is two main things. One, we're seeing the closure or culmination of Venus leaving Sagittarius. And we are also seeing the closure and the culmination of the nodes moving through Sagittarius, right? Because very soon the nodes are going to switch into Scorpio. So we have two signs or two placements, the Venus archetype and the South Node archetype, shifting into different signs. Venus will go first. So we're in a space of something is closing, right? We're at the end of a cycle. And at the same time, with every ending, there is also an emergent beginning. So we are in this dynamic dance between something that has ended and something that is emerging into our reality, right? And we've been talking about this for quite some time. And what is coming up for us, right? What is coming up for us within the next month? We're going to have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And what happens when eclipse patterns start? Well, it's preceded by the closing of a previous 6-month eclipse pattern. So what we're dealing with here is the closure of the last 6 months. We're dealing with the closure of what we've been processing with the planets being in retrograde form. Okay. Where else is it? Like, I know Mercury's been also retrograde as well. Pluto's been retrograde. So we're processing the closure of the last 6 months where we've had a Mercury retrograde. We've had 2 Mercury retrogrades. We've also had retrograde planets, the big ones that I already looked at. And we've also looked at the nodes moving through the Sagittarius Gemini axis that are now coming to ending. So the cycles reflect culmination, closure. And we have reached a point where it's not about, oh, we're heading into closure. We're actually at that point. And Scorpio incarnates itself and it says, right, what must die, and what is going to be reformed and reattached we're going to merge with. So what does that look like in our human experience? What does that look like in our everyday life? Well, for all of us, if you look at your emotional reality, you'll see that there's something that has come to closure for you, whether it be a certain philosophical truth or in this case, because there's a lot of Sagittarius, how have you been seeing certain things that over the course of the last 6 months have been either reinforced or that you've shifted your perspective on? How has your perspective been shifting? How has your truth been either reinforced by understanding your values at a stronger level and aligning with them, or how you've slowly and progressively become aware that what you felt and sensed and thought was meaningful, real, and important to you no longer holds the same weight. And so whatever that may be, whether it be a way that you feel that you want to relate in a relationship, to your work environment, to whatever, right? You fill in the blank. Something is coming to a closure regarding the way that you see things. And this Scorpio archetypal landscape is asking you to see the attachment in it, to surrender the attachments, and to say, thanks very much for the process, and to move on. And the thank you very much for the process aspect is this trine that takes place between Neptune in Pisces and Scorpio Sun Moon in Scorpio, right? Okay, so there's the trine. And the reason why that trine specifically speaks to the expression of closure, compassion, letting go of something, well, because Scorpio is, again, the archetype of our attachment, what we have merged with, and Pisces is the dissolving of every sense of self that we have into a greater whole, right? So when you close a book and you finish reading a book, or you finished watching a film or a series, that moment where you watch the last episode and then it closes, what are you filled with? You're filled with a sense of, oh no, like, what am I going to do now with my time? Or in this space, how am I going to fill this void, right? Neptune is associated with the void. So we are recognizing our emotional fixation or attachment, Scorpio, to the interaction, and that when it culminates or closes, we feel the loss of that behavior. We feel the loss of that way of being, or that habit, or our interaction, that world, it dissolves. And so we reflect on our experience. We reflect on the time that we invested in that experience, right? So that's where that archetypal landscape shows up. So we're in a process of really allowing ourselves to look back at what we have experienced and to see it in ways that can not only promote an acceptance and at peace with it, but also to see how much you've grown. And that's a big deal. Like, there's been tremendous amounts of growth for so many people with this kind of signature over the last 6 months, right? And for us at a collective level, this energy speaks to the progressive shifting away from feeling restricted in one area and wanting to move out into the world, right? Wanting to remove limitations. And there's two ways that these limitations, these two restrictions would have showed up, okay? There's an external manifestation of it, which is the way in which you are attached to your work, as an example. And let's say you choose to leave your work, right? There is an external limitation that has now changed in your world, and you feel freer. It can be something along the lines of a relationship, a belief system attachment. Either way, there's some form of restriction that has been holding people, and this energy is pushing that to no longer want to be in place. So we feel this impulse moving through us to want to transcend and break through these patterns of restriction. Okay. The second way that this manifests, and this is the one I advocate for more, is to see your internal landscape and how the layers of your internal emotional reality and how you're freeing yourself from the constriction within yourself, right? The limitations that you hold within yourself, the belief systems that you hold within yourself. So this is where I feel that the real power of this new moon exists, is the inner transformation of the emotional and psychological attachments at a root level that have bound you to experience a reality a certain way. And that this energy influences and invites us to look at what we have previously subscribed to and said, is this really true? Right? And so this metamorphosis is coming into play for us in a very profound and strong way. And so we can look back and see how that structure has held us in support. But now it's no longer in support with us. And the reason why I advocate for the internal structuring reshaping itself within you is because when you see that your internal landscape, when you bring it out into the world, it really actually does influence the way that you interact with the outer world. So if you change within and you have an inner revolution within yourself, it doesn't matter what the external situations are because you interface it from a different place. And if you are free and at peace with yourself, then while the world could still be in a state of complete chaos and mess, it's not so much a case of being caught up in the whirlwind, but more at peace and a groundedness within yourself. And the power lives within you. And that's kind of something that I feel is deeply profound with this new moon energy here. So if I look back, just kind of looking back at the astrology again, of course, Jupiter is now moving straight for Pisces. It's sitting at 22 degrees Aquarius. Jupiter is the south node ruler. So we can see here, there's another repeating theme of liberation coming place. Liberation is Aquarius. I want to rebel. I want to change the inner landscape. And then, of course, the Sagittarius component is why we feel, or why I'm talking about our perception, right? How we perceive things, how we see things. Okay, so there's a transcendent impulse, and this kind of energy ties deeply inside with the current name change that Facebook has done, calling it Meta, and what they're trying to build or what their vision is. This is a great example of how this energy looks and shows up, right? They want to kind of create a metaverse where you can interact and transcend all these limitations. So that's one way of how this is manifesting. And so that would be another example of this energy, right? We feel the limitations within our environment. We want to grow beyond them. Okay. So that Venus is the planet that is associated with Uranus over here. This opposition that sits between Uranus and the moon and sun. And then Venus is why I tie in the metamorphosis, the complete culmination and the transmutation, right, of our inner belief systems, our inner values that are aligned and are associated with the truth that we hold. You know, which side are you on? How you're experiencing yourself? What do you choose to subscribe to? These are very key aspects of this energetic alignment that will come up for us, and we want to ask ourselves, is this really serving me? Am I really being nourished by this? Do I find value in this? Am I being fed in a way that is deeply nurturing me to grow and to expand, right? So that energy is very prevalent. That's about it, to be honest, peeps. I mean, you know, you might see something in this chart you're curious about. I think that personally, this is a precursor to the lunar eclipse that's going to happen in Taurus. And then, of course, the solar eclipse that's going to happen in Sagittarius. We'll bring out some content around that material. But this is the chart. And so, yeah, so I really hope that you guys found some value in what I shared in terms of articulating the chart, and that this new moon energy seems super clear to you, and that you're able to take this information and begin to emotionally process and digest how they have been landing in your personal life. And of course, you know, bringing to your experience what it is that's actually transforming within you, you know, what evolutionary dynamics are moving through you, and how you can use, again, the astrology to support your process of deeper self-understanding, deeper self-acceptance, and healing as well, right? Bringing yourself back into a deeper state of wholeness. Okay. All right. So just before I go, I want to let everybody know, both, again, me and Jen, we're in a position where we can support, where we want to support those. And so if you are looking to deepen your relationship to your underlying psychological and emotional dynamics, if you're wanting to understand how your soul is experiencing itself, you want to get to know your core at a deeper level, and you feel that you're ready for a state of transformation, then below this actual video itself, you'll see a link. You click on the link, you book a 15-minute discovery call with us, and we'll see if there's an opportunity for us to work with you, and maybe if you can work with us, and we can support you. Maybe there's an opportunity for that to take place. So down below in the description, you'll see a link. You click on that and set up a call. You'll book either with myself or Jen, and we'll see if we can support you in some way. Okay? All right. Have an amazing day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.